FITC is pleased to introduce Matthew Basuto, better known as McBess. Today, McBess will explore the process of taking a blurry idea from the brain to the canvas. Please join us in welcoming him to the stage.
Hello everyone. Thanks for being here. So my name is McBess. It's a contraction of Matthew and Besudo, just because there was way too many Matthews in my class in art school. So what I do, it's mainly drawings. I'm really into music as well. I think it's a big part of the inspiration for my drawings. The video thing is my work. I'm directing music videos and commercial for a living for the mail. I wanted to put some reference about the mood that I'm looking for when I draw. So I just put those like this. It's not really going into detail, but I thought it was representing more or less what I like and the mood I'm trying to get out of my illustrations. I was doing pencil drawings, and once I went onto the computer, I started putting colors because I could, and it actually it lost something that I really liked in the mood that we had with the pencil. So I got rid of the color, which is, I think, another good lesson is when you open a software, whichever, you get so many options now, so many filters, so many plugins. You have to be really careful about what you really need, and is it really here for a reason? If it's not, you should just get rid of it. So yeah, more illustration. Then I started to do a bit more of isometric illustration in black and white. Isometric, I think, is fun because it helps giving, again, more details, and you get the characters in the foreground and the characters in the background are nearly as big, so you can really install a lot of things. That's one of the most recent stuff I've done. So how do I work? So I start with this, which is really important. For some of the drawings that I do with a bit of isometry, I use a grid in Photoshop, which is, I think, called the vantage point or something like that. It's in filters. Then I go and do the really rough drawing. I try not to spend too much time on the rough because as soon as you spend too much time on something, it breaks your heart to erase it. So the rough drawing needs to stay ugly and rough so you can move them around, erase, retry. And it's mainly here to give you an idea of how the composition works and where you're going to have big black spaces, and they're going to balance with other spaces where you're going to have details. For instance, the trees are giving a bit more black and kind of help the illustration to breathe a bit. Then, because I'm lazy, I had 3D elements, stairs, and especially curved stairs. It's a pain in the ass to draw, so I just made them in 3D and then traced them afterwards in the Photoshop. So this one, I think, was entirely done in Photoshop, and it led to this. This one I'm going to explain a bit more. Yeah, I start adding details. So that still is the rough. And at this point, I start thinking about the size of the illustration and the size of the stroke of the pencil that I'm going to use. I mean, it's a brush in Photoshop. Because this is like the really important thing. I think it's one of the basics that I learned when I was doing illustration, is that if you use a normal brush in Photoshop to do your drawings and you zoom in to do your details with a smaller brush, when you zoom out, it doesn't look like it's made, it's not uniform, it's not great. You should always be careful about that. And for instance, you can't, it's like making, if I was working on the bucket with the girls, and I wanted to get a lot of details in. I could have maybe scale it, work, and then scale it back, and but then the stroke would not fit the rest of the illustration. So it's just tiny things like that that makes the details better and just the style of the work better. Then it's about just adding details and putting stuff in. That's really the cool part. I mean, it takes a while, but it's just the funny part, really. So I've got a time lapse of that. I think not the whole illustration, because I think it took me a month to finish it. So yeah, it's mainly. I mean, this one is entirely done on Photoshop with a tablet, and yeah, there isn't really a lot of. The only tricks I use in Photoshop is maybe copy and paste and the transform tool for some stuff, just to get some lines, parallel lines or curved lines. Again, I'm trying not to use it too much, because if all the lines are perfectly parallel, and kind of loses the charm of an actual hand drawing. So that's the work I do on computer. I do now use a pencil. I mean, that's the finished piece. It was done for a magazine, so it's actually the front and the back page. So you fold it together and you have the magazine. This is another time lapse. So it's really, really interesting when you work with a huge canvas like that. Again, the thing I was saying about strokes and the thickness of the tool you're using, because it's so big that if you use sometimes you think the tool is big enough, but actually when you step back, it's really too small, and it looks flimsy, and it doesn't really look good. Okay, and that's the finished piece, it took 3 days to do, and it's really interesting how you think you're gonna start of something simple with just one character, and you can just lose yourself in spend 2 days on doing small details in the hair, and so the inspiration behind the characters, it's basically based on people that I know. I think there's a lot of way of doing I keep on saying illustration, but it could be photos or films or paintings or whatever. But I think basing it on something that you know really well, even if it's a fantasy, if something that you've been close to for a long time. For instance, this one, I've been close to him for a long time. It's a lot easier to get inspiration and to talk about it. And again, it's showing that when you talk about something that you are really close to, not something that you've seen that is cool on the internet and you say, oh, yeah, that's fucking cool, I'm gonna do that as well. And it just doesn't work that way. You need to make yourself more aware of exactly what you like, and don't take it too lightly. Actually dive into the story of whatever you like and digest it, wait a bit, and then I think you can see the difference. And yeah, that's it. Sorry.